Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Monday, the 18th of August. Happy Monday. A new week is upon us. It's going to be an interesting one this week, for sure. We've had a lot of very interesting weeks. Pretty much since the end of June. Um, it's been fun. And yeah, we might just be going into a bit of a lull phase, a little bit of a sideways down phase in the market, which we were talking about that there were some warning signs on the chart last week on Thursday and Friday. And we'll go through some of those today. The order book again, it's a little bit thin. I don't think this stuff at 114.2 is very. I mean, they did just pull this stuff at 114 and just put it slightly higher at 114.2. 336 Bitcoin, it's a sizable amount, but it's nothing too crazy. We do have the node coming in at around 119k, and if I just zoom out a tiny bit more, I mean, I'm not sure. I think it's around 119, 118.6, 119. So basically, just this little bit that we broke down from, and if I show you on the 4-hour chart, basically just around here. You can't even see that well. Let's turn this footprint off as well. It's really annoying. Basically, this low and this high that we just made around 118 to 119. This little structure here is pretty bearish, to be honest, and then we just lost the floor. So uh, getting above this might change the structure, especially the 4-hour high that we just put in. But as of right now, yeah, again, looking a little bit bearish. And to go with that thesis, of course, the good old long to short ratio, you can always rely on this to predict the direction of the market and which way we are going to fall further, especially when the breakdown does happen. We're currently at 60% long, and this is quite heavy. So when we get to 60% on either side, long or short, you best bet that there's going to be some fireworks to the opposite direction. So, whoa, what just happened there? Is the stream's okay, right? The stream should be okay. I don't know what happened there, but my Wi-Fi's been a little bit dodgy this morning. But yeah, this is still steadily increasing. I mean, I checked this a couple hours ago. It's 60.3, and now we're at 61. The longs are coming in. I think we've got a little bit more to go. In terms of liquidity, we have taken most of the stuff to the downside. We did talk about this at the end of last week on Friday when we just set the new all-time high. Did we say it on Friday? We basically said that there's no liquidity to the upside anymore. We've taken all the short liquidity, and the stuff to the downside starts to look really attractive for the market makers. And did we talk about that on Thursday or Friday? And then we did a massive bearish engulfing candle on Friday, I think, and which broke the 118.5k level that we were looking to potentially hold. And since then, we've just steadily been going a little bit lower. As of right now, we do have a little hot spot below at 114.5. This could be interesting if we do start dipping into that. But yeah, there's a lot of longs into the market, and if we do see a little bit of a bounce, I'm expecting us to see some bearish retests from this structure that we just did. But we'll talk about it in a second. Another bit of interesting data is that let me just put this on the 4-hour just to see that. I'm not sure why this hasn't changed on the top traders, but on the MDX charts, the long to short ratio, you can see that we have a massive change in the long to short ratio of the top traders. Wait, did I just collapse that by accident? Yeah, I wanted to collapse that. So top traders, they've been long for forever, pretty much. This whole up move, and they're finally starting to taper off. I'm not sure if this is reflected yet in the other long to short ratio chart on the dashboard, but this is definitely something to be worried about. 100%. It's just about 50-50. I'm not sure if this is a very accurate read, but we'll definitely check this again tomorrow and monitor this throughout the week because yeah, this is definitely something to keep an eye on and be a little bit wary above. In other news, CBBI, we're not above 90 yet in this cycle, so yeah, every cycle we go into the deep red and we get above 95. I'd say if we get into the deep red and we get above 90 this cycle, it's going to be very near the end. Still, we haven't really got above 82 as of yet, so that's not something to be worried about just yet. And the altcoin season index, we are getting up towards the top. So again, this kind of goes in the thesis that we might have a lull phase now, and then we'll have two or 3 months of an alt season, and then it might be the end of the bull market. But yeah, let's have a look at the charts now, because that's enough of the data. We all know about this, and we all worry about it at the end of last week. And the big nail in the coffin for me is the weekly chart. Everyone can see that, yes. So, let's start with this. I just need to crank up my brightness a bit, and maybe take some of these off. So we'll take that off, and we'll flip that on to the weekly chart. So this weekly chart looks very bearish. So what I can say about this weekly chart is every time we get a few wicks into the weekly combination band, you also pair this with the oscillator topping out, which it hasn't printed yet. It will print at the end of this weekly candle, but we are getting the overbought dot as well on the weekly. So every time this happens, we do see quite a sizable drop in the market. Now, I'm not saying that this is over, that this is the end, but I am saying that this is something that we should definitely be mindful of, along with, we've got long, short, more longs in the market, and we also have the top traders tapering off their longs. So basically, this was a very bearish weekly candle, and we did talk about this last week about this potentially being a deviation of the higher, and it currently is starting to look like that now. So yeah, the weekly chart, it's not looking great. That was a really bad weekly close, and every time we've seen this, it doesn't mean that it's the end of the cycle, but we have seen a very sizable retrace or lull phase in the market. So I mean, this is not a great chart to do this on, to be honest, but we can do it on maybe the index. The index is a little bit weird if this just loads. Okay, so every time we've seen an overbought or an oversold area in the oscillator, and you pair this with the weekly combination band, we've seen very, very sizable contractions in the market, or very, very sizable expansions in the market. So I'm just gonna, this didn't quite print in an oversold, but we did get the bullish divergence on the weekly. This one actually hit and bull dived on the way down, but we still did get a sizable down period of 20%. So it might not look like much when it's zoomed out, but it is still a 20% down. Again, we got one here. We got a small one here. I remember this was the ETF. This was the ETF announcement. We actually did 20%, so it might not look like much, but it is always something. Again, here, this was the famous one from the previous all-time high down to 50k, and then the most recent one from 100k down to 74. So, in general, this does mean that we are going to have a 20 to 30% correction in the market. Now, we have to pair this with some break of structures and some price action as well, of course, but this is definitely a warning sign for me. So yeah, let's just go a little bit more in and zoom in to the market. So, okay. So on the daily time frame, what we have is we have a bearish engulfing candle here, which closed below 18.5, 118.5, which we were talking about is the level that we want to hold for more upside. We talked about on Friday this little up bit, potentially bearishly retesting the weekly open, and we did not close any 4-hour candles above the level. Basically, you kind of want to wait for 2 4-hour candles, and if it doesn't gain, then you're basically looking at a bearish retest anyway. And then we got the further breakdown from here. And since then, we've kind of just been bearishly retesting and going lower. So this structure is definitely something that we want to regain, this little high here, for more upside. But as of right now, you're basically looking to short the daily weekly open in the short term. To the downside, I definitely think we are going to come and test the lows again. We're currently beneath August and beneath these lows we did towards the end of the first week of August. And if we do get back up here, you're definitely more than welcome to take a short down into here. But yeah, it's not over, but it's looking a little bit more bearish. So yeah, that's Bitcoin, and yeah, it is what it is. Now, there is a bit of hope, and the hope is that towards the end of the market, when we do get when Bitcoin does top, so if it has topped now, if this was the all-time high for the bull market at 124.1 or 124, what happens is after the first breakdown, when you get the sideways consolidation or the grind up, that's when the altcoins go crazy. And we haven't actually seen that yet. So usually at the end of the bull market, when Bitcoin tops, you do get 2 to 3 months of an altcoin season where before it actually goes into a proper bear market and does the breakdowns in the price action. So to pair this with some hopium, Bitcoin DOM is still heavily in a downtrend, and what we could see is we could see some bearish retests of March and November in between here, and then a continuation down into February and the yearly open. This is still looking very, very bearish and in a very, very, very clear downtrend on Bitcoin dominance. Pair this with the eBitcoin chart, which still, again, looks fine. We're currently retesting this swing as of right now. We've also got the yearly open, and we could even come all the way down into this top structure, and it would still be relatively quite bullish until we do a very low high and then start doing that. But again, I do think we're going to have a bit of a lull phase in the market, and these daily closes were really bad. If you can see this here, let me just zoom in. We did get one close above, and then we failed it right on the next one, and then this was the bearish retest on the daily with some bearish divergence as well, coming in on the failure candle. Well, actually on the top candle. So we'll have a look at this on the 4-hour. You basically get the bearish retest here, and then this is the breakdown candle right here. So you didn't actually break the low until this previous 4-hour candle just closed right now. So yeah, we're expecting a little bit more down into the yearly open, and then we could talk about maybe going a little bit lower. But yeah, that's ETH Bitcoin, and I still do think we do have a little bit of ways to go before the bear market. But yeah, that's it. ETH Bitcoin. So basically, we talked about this weekly high structure. This is obviously the weekly all-time high swing. If this just loads. This is weekly all-time high swing. We've had a nice weekly wick up into the all-time swing, and we've closed below. We're in the overbought area of the weekly oscillator, and all in all, it does look like we are overdue a pullback. Now, it's not the end of the world just yet. We do have some structure below us, namely in between 3.85 and 4K to retest. Right on this top structure that we did at the end of July. So there is a potential that we could bounce here and then bearishly retest the weekly open down into 3.9 to 4 in the short term. I think that's probably the most likely thing that's going to happen. But yeah, we just have to be aware of this, and I don't think ETH looks that bad until we start doing some really nasty closes below, let's call it here, this area. If we start breaking, getting down underneath here, it's going to start looking really rough. But yeah, as of right now, I still think we've got a bit to go. We're just going to go for a little bit of a retrace and a pullback. And when Bitcoin does stop dumping, we might see a little bit of a breathing room in some of our altcoins. Let's have a look at the totals. That's what I want to look at. So, total one, we've got the new all-time high weekly swing that we just put in. We have bullishly retested this right now, so this is something that we definitely want to hold and make a higher low. Because what we do have still at the moment, we've got a low, we've got a higher high. Now we want to make a higher low to continue the uptrending price action. You could also do something like this, and the 886 comes perfectly around that weekly all-time high swing. So that's definitely something that we would want to keep an eye on for potentially some big breakdowns or some more upside in the market. I think this is something that we're going to have to look at very, very religiously every Monday now for the weekly candle closes. Total 2, I remember we talked about this on the weekly time frame, that we're at the all-time high weekly swing again. This is always going to be potential resistance. As of right now, we're just looking for a little bit of a pullback from the highs. Yeah, it's nothing too crazy right now, but we could see... Basically, what we don't want to see is when we do bounce from wherever we stop, we don't want to see a lower high from here now. When we bounce, we want to come up and we want to break this high and make a new higher high. That's basically what we want to see for more upside. As of right now, again, we're just going to go through a little bit of a pullback in the market. Again, sort of similar thing with Total 3. Weekly all-time high swing. Came up to it. Nice, actually big wick. We actually did do a sneaky close above on the weekly time frame. But yeah, it just looks like it wants to have a little bit of a pullback. And hopefully we can make a higher low from this area on the daily time frame. Similarly, this area is something where we want to put in a higher low on Total 2. But yeah, it just looks like we're going to have a little pullback. It's nothing too crazy right now, but we do need to be mindful of the top traders and the weekly chart on Bitcoin as well. Do you think alts will have a pullback? Yes, they will. I haven't actually looked at alts yet because they do look like they're holding relatively well. Relatively. We did look briefly at the ETH Bitcoin chart. It is holding better than Bitcoin. Bitcoin is already breaking down. So they will have a pullback. They definitely will have a little bit of a pullback, and we'll talk about it in a second. But basically, what we want to see is we want to see holds of the daily stupid fibs. So basically, if I can just put it very, very simply on the Total 2 chart, we definitely want to put a higher low from this low, and we want to hold it around somewhere in here. So this structure in here, before we did the big blast off at the start of August, this is where we want to put in our higher low. Right in here. And then what we do have is we have a high, we have a low, we have a higher low, and then we can talk about maybe doing a lower high. We don't know what's going to happen until then. We definitely want to put in a higher low. If we put in a lower low, it starts to look really bad underneath this low, which is basically yearly open on Total 2. On ETH, that'll be about 3.9 to 4K. So I'm expecting daily pullbacks on all altcoins to around, it comes in around the August level. It's the daily structure from the first week of August. It's also around the 786. So we'll go through some of these alts and we'll just pull some daily fibs, and this is kind of where we want to pretty much hold and make some higher lows. any chance of Bitcoin pulling back harder than the alts, like dominance continue falling, in your opinion? There is a chance. We are towards the end of the cycle. People are anticipating an alt run, and Bitcoin Dom has obviously been breaking down heavily. It's very rare that when we get a big dump, that Bitcoin Dom continues to fall. It almost always slightly goes up or goes sideways. What's going to be the big indicator is when the market pulls back. Are we going to start gaining some levels on Bitcoin Dom? Are we going to start gaining this low and this high here? Are we going to gain this and start, doing some structure like higher low, stuff like this? Or are we going to bearishly retest this? Bang, bang. So I think that's going to be a big tell. From what I can see right now, ETH Bitcoin, it looks fine. It's got some retests to do in here. It could come all the way down to here and still look fine as well. But I mean, it's almost always that if Bitcoin does see a pullback, the rest of the market will as well. I think what you're seeing right now is people just taking profit into USDT, but this chart is still heavily in a downtrend. Look, we've just made a new low. We've got a very, very, very clear high from here. We want to make a lower high, and we want to just continue going down into the support. Let's actually have a look at this on the weekly time frame. Yeah, that's a very nice test. That's some very, very heavy support as well. It's starting to pen it a little bit, this chart. We've basically got a lower high and a higher low, so it's a bit of indecision. If we start like doing this and make a new high from here, it's going to be looking like, yeah. But I am still a believer that we are going to get some sort of alt season towards the end of the year, well, between now and the end of the year. It's just basically how far are we going to pull back. Until then, we definitely have the ability to do some pretty decent pullbacks. But for example, I'll just show you on Sol and ETH. Well, Sol actually barely put in a new high. But basically what you want to do is pretty much on all alts, we've got some daily structure from the first week of August in here. That when we come down, we just want to make a higher low. We just want to make a higher low. That's it. We want to keep this low intact. We want to keep this low of the structure intact, and we just want to start, doing some consolidation. Nothing to worry about just yet. The same thing on ETH. ETH's had a really good run. This is starting to look really annoying, this chart, because of all the lines. Let me just get a slightly spare chart. Oh, that's not spare at all. Coinbase, come on. Do me nice, Coinbase. No way, what the hell? I promise you, when I go home, I'm going to clean up all my charts. So we don't have any of this. Okay, cool. So this low, we've got a new high. We've obviously had really, really nice moves on ETH. You could even put the daily combination band on. Okay, this is really where you want to hold in here. You've also got, again, the daily structure from the first week of August in here. This is definitely where you want to put in some nice higher lows. So yeah, potential for a bounce just from this swing. It was untested. We did talk about this last week. We said this weekly close is untested. This swing is untested. Right now we are making lower highs and lower lows, so the trend is slightly more down. We've got some more longs in the market. I think if you do come up to here, you can take a fairly risk-free short with the stop above here, and potentially you're looking at going all the way down here. I think that is probably the best play right now. And then when you come back down into these daily Stuber pockets and you come back down into this structure from the beginning of August, then we can talk about relonging, which was always on the cards. I think we were talking. I remember talking about Injective last week. I do remember talking about Injective last week. And I just said I don't really like the. I'm not really sure about longing in this area. You did actually get the bounce of the 786 in the combination band, to be fair. So if anyone took that, I mean, you're looking at a decent little trade. But, well, that was actually 13%, to be honest. So there's always moves to be made within the market. But for me, because I caught a really nice trade on 12.1, literally down here, and we have made a new high, basically all I'm looking for now is to hold this. And that 786 perfectly comes in with the start of August structure that I was talking about. And this is where I'm going to reload. It remains to be seen if we start doing some lower highs from here now. But, yeah, I want to wait for a little bit lower, personally. Especially now that I've seen some of the data and I've seen the weekly close and I've seen stuff like this. Yeah, it's time to cover. What do you think of the 10-minute stablecoin? I'm sorry about that dominance question. That was a little bit of a slightly vague answer. Any chance of Bitcoin pulling back harder than alts? Probably not. But what you could see is that alts will hold up slightly better than usual when Bitcoin pulls back. What do you think of the 10-minute stablecoin? 10 minutes it's a little bit low for me, bro. 10 minutes. Not much. Could just pop up into August and keep going, keep failing. Could also make a higher low and go up all the way towards the weekly open. This is a really, really clear failure for me. This structure you want to go back if you want more upside towards the all-time high. Again, nothing too much on here for me. You could basically ladder in a short if we do get up into this area with a very, very nice stop loss. It's very, very simple. You don't want to gain back this structure. Why does my chart look like this? Hold on. Looks really weird. Anyway. Potential, I mean the hourlies it's literally sitting right at the bottom. We've got some oversold on the hourly time frame. We've actually taken quite a lot of the long liquidity as well. So yeah, they might want to build a bit more liquidity as we go down. They probably do, to be honest. They need that liquidity. Hi Jack, how you been back in the UK? I'm good. I will be back in the UK. So my Thursday stream's going to be cancelled. Because I'll be flying back, and Friday will be at the normal time. So Friday, if you guys check the event times, will be at 11 a.m. UK time. Yeah, back to the normal. Hopefully, some of my American friends can join in as well. I actually started doing them at 11:30 for the summer hours, just because the daily close was at 1 a.m. and then I started staying up a little bit too late. But we'll try to do 11 for now, and we might move it to 11:30. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'll be back on Friday, and Thursday stream is cancelled. So yeah, let's have a look at some of these alts. And basically, what we'll just do is we'll just identify areas for potential longs, and pretty much the playbook right now is if the risk is fine, you can short the daily weekly open. You do not want to gain this structure back from Sunday for the short, because then we could go and test all the way at the highs again. And yeah, I'm leaning more towards bearish just because of the weekly chart and the long to short ratio. But the warning signs were there last week. I mean, we talked about potentially that in the back of our minds, and I think I'm out of some of my trades, obviously in heavy profit, and I'm just kind of waiting now. It's a bit of time. It's a bit of, Monday is the setup. If we get the bounce up, I'm going to short, and hopefully we see a little bit further breakdown towards the end of the week. So, I mean, we did talk about injective already. Yeah, I think this area potentially, hopefully, could hold. That could be something. It's really interesting that the retail stablecoin demand has literally cooled this top to a T. So I might just go through a few charts and just do that. We'll do that. I mean, to be honest, we don't even need that one. But this recent one was a very, very, very good print on it. One sec, I just need to take off my jumper. It's really so injective, yes, I'm looking for retest down here in this area. It's not actually looking as bad as some of the other coins. We're actually holding on to the previous weekly open quite nicely. Um, but yeah, I'm just waiting for a little bit lower. Let's have a look at Doge. Yeah, so I did catch something on Doge last week. Caught something around here. And yeah, we went up to here. I took a bit of profit around here, about 20%. Set my stop at break even. We actually failed, and now I'm not in that trade anymore. Not really the biggest win, but it wasn't a loss, so fine. Again, this is looking a little bit like it wants to roll over now. If we come back up here, bearishly retest this daily weekly open, it's quite likely that we will make a new low now on this, unless we can gain this quite convincingly and start doing that. But I just think with everything I've looked at, we could see a little bit lower. Now I need to just delete some of these lines and just say that again, the structure from the first week of August is going to be key to holding in here, and then we want to make a new high from that. Interesting. I was looking at Popcat as well. Again, this thing is in quite heavy support. Jesus Christ. Can you hear that ambulance? This thing is coming up to quite heavy support. So it might be worth trying to catch a little bounce trade on this, but only if the risk is nice. So you're even looking at a 2% stop, even if you long at 275. I think catching a knife on this is not what you want to do. You actually want to be a bit careful. But what I will say is if we do wick down into 275-ish, and then on the lower time frames you start see something like this, it might be worth a little long up to the weekly open in the Q3. But again, you don't really want to catch that knife as of right now. Actually, right on the daily swing. This doesn't look bad. Can you look at radium? Yeah, I'll look at radium. You're not worried to be left stranded if you wait for too low entries, given the fall in dominance and all that. I'm still in some of my trades, to be honest. To be honest, it's a really good question. Dominance is still falling. ETH's still in a heavy uptrend, especially if we can hold 4K. ETH Bitcoin looks really good. I'm still in some of my alt trades, but the way I'm looking at the data is that the weekly chart and the Bitcoin long to short ratio is either saying we're going to get a sizable lull phase or retrace, or we've topped. It's one or the other, and the minimum retrace that Bitcoin has done when we've got 2 wicks into the weekly combination band and you get more longs in the market is it's probably 20%. And even if you're being optimistic and alts hold relatively well, they're still going to do 20 to 30% dumps. Now, the thing that could remedy this is that we don't get the 20% dump very fast and all at once. It's more like we get something like this first, which lasts a couple of months, and alts start to like pump a little bit. So like even this was 10% to be honest. Actually, it wasn't. It was 30%. Because it was there to there. So I am still in some of my longs. For example, like Injective from the low, Sui from the low. But yeah, it's looking a bit dumpy, man. Yeah, how low do we go, bros? On Bitcoin or in the market? I'm more looking to scale in down. I don't want to catch this knife right now because we could get that really big flush just before the crazy alt season. And just the two big things for me, okay? This is two things that you cannot deny. And let me just clean up this chart just so you can see it very, very clearly, okay? There are two things that you cannot deny on this chart. It's that we are flashing this completely overbought signal on the weekly time frame. Two, this previous weekly candle close was mega bearish. You got a massive wick and a close below structure. Three, you have 2 wicks into the weekly combination band. Every time that Bitcoin has done this, we've seen a 20% drop in the market. That was 30%. This was 30%. Even here, this ETF bit, this was 20%. Regarded it was only a 2 week dump, but that was still 20%. Here, this may not look like much, but this is still 20%. Okay? And it's just hard to ignore the long to short ratio. And even now that I've just looked at the top traders they've been long this whole move up. The top traders on Binance have been long since summer 2023, and now they're at 50-50. They've literally been 60 something% long for 2 years, and now it's changing. It's just a little bit. It's just a little bit worrying. But saying that, you're right. If that was the top, then we're due 2 to 3 months of crazy altcoin action. September, October, November, and then the bear market. So what I'm just looking for is I'm looking for daily stupid retraces. So example, let's look at hype quickly. which again, all-time high resistance, 2 wicks into the band, bang. What we're basically just looking for, I mean, this didn't even make a new high, so we can't even pull a fib, but I mean, we definitely could just for research purposes. Basically just want to hold something like that in there and put in a higher low. And just do something like this. Hype's actually one thing that is performing very well, and so I would be more confident to scale into something down here. But again, we thought Fartcoin was the one, and this thing has been swinging massively. Oh, they've got a spot crit. They've got a spot chart on this now. Again, this is bull diving massively though, so this is something that does interest me a little bit. Ah, it's definitely a little bit interesting. I don't know. What do we think on Fartcoin? It's looking a very, very. It's just very. It's looking a bit tenuous. We've lost the yearly open. We tried to make a new high here, and we just didn't hold the floor. Currently, we're bouncing off the 786. We've got some major overlapping support just from the low we've made. But if we lose that low, we're going to go all the way down to 7.3 and this daily combination band. However, we are kind of bull diving on the. It's just very. It's just very like I'm super long already, but I just don't want to. I don't want to jump the gun here. I'm waiting for some structure. Exactly. Expect something harsh. Not to say some of my positions aren't open, but those are exactly. Some of my positions are still open, like Sui, Injective, Doge. I think Popcat's been stopped. What else? Some of my other like Turbo and stuff have been stopped. Bonk's been stopped, but they're all stopped mostly in profit. So that's why I'm just trying to. We're trying to chill a little bit. We're trying to wait for more concrete action. I think in the local price action, shorting the daily week open is the obvious choice for me. I think we bottom this week or next after Bitcoin done runs up for a bearish retest of maybe 64% area. Then alt season, everyone probably think it's all over. October, December should be more fun than bear. Should be ushered in. Yeah, it kind of lines up to what I was thinking, kind of what I was saying as well. But this weekly time frame thing is really not nice. I'll just show it to you guys again. Okay, I think I've showed it to you guys many times. Even if we go to the totals, I mean, total one looks. Sorry, that's not even the total. Total two. Total two could come all the way to August in the 786 here, and we want to hold this area. Total three, again. We have made a new high, which is nice. I think I just for everything. The daily structure from the start of August, like these little few candles here, is going to be very, very important. It just looks like we want to just do that for a bit. But again, are we gonna are we gonna start bearishly retesting this stuff on Bitcoin DOM and keep going now? I hope so. ETH Bitcoin, it still looks fine. Just overdue a pullback. So like for example, let's look at Sui. We got long on Sui down here at 3.3. Literally down here. And so we're currently coming back into that area again, to be honest. Which actually might be a decent long again. But what do we have here? We have a lower high, and we actually close below here on that structure there. So if we don't hold this, it's just gonna do that. From daily combination bad to daily combination bad. It's not crazy. It's not crazy at all. Let me make it a bit more clear. Pump. Bearish divergence, wick into the band. Bounce from this low, because we did a nice little do. Lower high, back down into the combination man, and then maybe, yeah, that's the last leg. I'm waiting till today's close on Filecoin. Yes. I think they are baking in rate cut potential at the moment, so selling ahead of its possibilities could be right. When's that? I mean, that's still a few weeks off, isn't it? I don't really like to think about that too much, but oh no, I hold spot. I'm still in my spot massively. I'm still holding all my spot. I'm still holding some of my trades. I just think it looks a bit topped at the moment. And I don't want to pull the trigger too early. Like cool, if we do a little bit of a bounce here, fine, but we've been making really good profits pretty much from the end of June. It'd be a shame to give it all back. Anyway, let's look at some other holds quickly. Like Link. This still looks good. Still got retests to do in here. I mean, I've mapped this out, this area out well ahead of time. This daily is coming up here. It wouldn't be crazy. It wouldn't be crazy on a lot of this stuff. Then again, some things are looking pretty decent for a potential bounce. So, like Potcat. Yeah, shit looks topped. Can't be the same as 2021. Can't be that easy, right? I think we still have some room this week for alts. Bitcoin Dom should go to the area, then bounce, wreck us all, and bring the pain across the board till the end of September, early October. And then we should get our last run. I definitely think there is one more run. I'm definitely in that camp as well. But yeah, just the weekly Bitcoin chart. It looks a bit wonky. Me personally, I don't think we get a rate cut, but believe the market does. Please look at bio. Yes. What is profits? Showing some life on this chart. Come nicely up to this resistance here. It's quite nice. You've got a bullish Stuba on the 4 hour there for this little bit here. again, some fair value gaps over here. Potential to retest all the way down here if you lose this. Yeah. It'll be quite telling to see what happens if we do get a retrace and we start closing below, like here, and then you're just looking at something like that. And then that might take us all the way into the end of September. But right now, this looks topped at the moment. Well, not completely, because we could come down and do that and then just set a new high, but pull back for sure. That's 2 and a big wick. Yeah, it's going to bear div as well, maybe. Yeah, I just waiting. A little bit more structure. I think ETH, we're definitely probably going to see a bounce from this area. 3.9 to 4. What might happen is that, and then we'll talk about that and see what happens. You guys see block, think that can have legs due to the career association with Trump. I don't know what it is, but if you're looking for a short, daily weekly open's a good place to start your idea. Let's just look at block quickly. I actually do have to go because I've got a call. Is it block asset or block street? Block protocol. Actually, I'm really sorry. I do have a call in 4 minutes, so I've got to end it here. To round it all off, we want to hold the structure from the beginning of August. You got plenty daily stupid fibs that you can pull, and in the short-term price action, I think this weekly open and this swing that we just put on Sunday is something you don't want to gain. Potentially, you could short here for a little bit further down, and Bitcoin, the exact same thing. You don't want to gain this. You got a daily weekly open around here. The risk is fine. If you start doing that, then yeah, fine. But it doesn't look like that right now if you see a bounce. If we go down towards the lows, then I'm expecting maybe a bounce from here, but the long to short ratio is not looking good. So yeah, that's about it. And